Hello, my friends. It is day 282, and we're reading Matthew chapter 12, Mark chapter 3, and Luke chapter 6. But before we get into our recap today, I want to thank you for taking a moment to check out this video. Hopefully, you're finding the yearly Bible reading program enjoyable. I hope you're gaining a lot out of the community. And if you have not yet accepted the invitation, you can check out the description box below, and there you'll find a link that will take you to the YouVersion Bible app, where you can join a number of people reading every single day and leaving feedback on the things they're learning. If you have interest in joining us on next year's journey, you can visit www.selflesschurch.org, where you can join a sign-up sheet that will allow you to keep up with all the updates, all the things that are going to be happening next year as we meet and we discuss God's Word. So we look forward to forming an even more intimate community than we have ever had since the time we've been reading. And so we want to invite you to be a part of that. Now, today we're reading in the Gospels, and as you can see, especially if you're following and tracking along with the Gospel of Matthew, you can see that we're jumping all over the place. And that's one of the things that happens whenever you're reading chronologically. I had a chronological Bible, a study Bible, that actually wrote things out the way they happened. All the Gospels, the Chronicles, the Kings, it literally broke each chapter out verse by verse in order, in the historical order that the events actually happened. And that if we were as chronological as we possibly could be, we would probably not follow along as well. But we are as succinctly chronological as we can be, and for that reason, you'll see as the last reading we had was in the 8th chapter of Matthew. Today we're reading in Matthew chapter 12. You'll see that these writers were not necessarily writing in the order that the events happened. They were more so trying to convey a particular point about Jesus from a unique perspective, as we mentioned early on. And that just goes to show us that the most important fact or factor about these Gospels is how they depict Jesus, as much as it is the historical explanation, historical chronology of the events that happen. Now, I will say this. Luke seems to have that focus, and so does the Gospel of Mark. And we'll see how Matthew, John get along with that motive and that desire. But as we read through our passages today, we see a few common themes, notably that Jesus is doing things on the Sabbath, which is a major offense to the established religious order. He is attracting crowds of people to him, and he's choosing his 12 apostles. Now, when we look at the selection of the apostles, and we look at what they're supposed to do, who they're supposed to represent, it is fascinating to understand the importance of this endeavor. The fact that Jesus is calling special messengers to go on and continue the work that he is doing in the time and at the time that he would designate for them signifies that Jesus is revolutionary, is in many senses a revolutionary, seeking not just to bring another one of those revivals, but to constitutionally change everything about what it means to be a child of God, a person in God's family, a chosen member of God's family. He's about to conduct what I like to call a paradigm shift. Okay. Now, when we look at this, the reason his teaching is so important is because the things that he says will be the new way by which God's people are to live in comparison to what they would have understood things to, the way they would have understood their responsibilities prior to his coming. So what that says to me, as we saw in Luke's gospel, and we see the Beatitudes, and we know that the Beatitudes was shared with us in Matthew chapter 6, or actually Matthew 5, 6, and 7. But it shows us that Jesus is absolutely birthing a new way, maybe should I say the intended way of the Father, so that all who are a part of his family and in line with his plan will have an identity that is uniquely connected to, and in many instances replicate, the example of Jesus Christ. These are big things. When you use the word apostle, you're talking about should I say a selected or even an elected, a chosen representative, ambassador, messenger who's going to go about setting things in order as you have designated they should be done. So this is monumental. This is a historic moment in what I like to call the Christ community. And we see those things happening in Luke chapter 6. And we also see it happening in Mark's gospel, chapter 3 as well. Okay. Now, it's equally important to recognize the kind of people that Jesus is selecting. He's not choosing the aristocrats or the religious leaders. He's choosing those individuals that he can use. Okay. And that's so important. You know, we get so caught up in all the different formalities and some of the things, but the question is, are we usable? Will we bend ourselves to the Lord? Will we lend ourselves to God's will, to his purpose, his plan, to the moving of his spirit? That's what's most important. And it says that they are given authority, and that authority is special, and it cannot be replicated or duplicated in the sense that we carry the same authority that they had, because they were chosen to start something that never again will be started. If anything, it will be continued and will be built upon. But the apostles were uniquely different. And so, as we see Jesus healing, preaching, doing things, they were to follow that example. And we'll see as we continue to read in the year that they do that in a superb way. Okay, so today was really, really, really good. I especially appreciated in Mark's Gospel, chapter 3, how he was able to accumulate crowds, people who were possessed with evil spirits, how these individuals would follow Jesus. He would obviously heal them and then command the spirits to be subject to his word and his authority. These are, again, really good examples of how Jesus cared for the life of people and not just their souls. And I mean eternal souls. He cared for the life, what's happening in the moment, as well as their eternal souls. So I would encourage you to continue to read into this a little bit more and think through this. Let us know what you're thinking in the comment box below, what stands out to you and what caught your attention. And I believe we'll all be blessed by it. But until next time, thank you for watching. Take care. God bless. And remember, live by the word.